Hi, and welcome along to AFTV. We are here live again. I'm joined by my man, Turkish. I want to big up my brethren. Shorts in the building. You can't see him, but respect Shorts. I know you was, man was over in LA. Did you see him?
Yeah, enjoying, man, enjoying. Let me not put it like, he's doing some good work out there too. He's enjoying, but he's doing some good work out there.
Yeah, all I saw him was rolling around with these Mexicans.
Yeah, I see that too.
Some lowriders, some Mexican guys with tattoos all over. I was like, yo, what's this man up to, man?
He's rolling with the essays.
With the essays, bro. I was like, yo, what's this man up to over there? You know what I mean? Do I need to be careful next time I talk to him? You know what I mean? But no, big up to Shorts as usual, doing great work in the community as he does here in the borough of Islington. So big up to Shorts. But we're here today to talk about, I think we've got a few subjects lined up, but you know the first thing we wanted to talk about is the potential fixture pile-up, fixture nightmare, should I say, that Arsenal face. Now that we found out today that the game, the PSV game, has been moved. Now, remember the PSV game was supposed to take place tomorrow night, Europa League game. That game will now be played on the 20th of October, which has then meant that the Premier League has had to cancel the game that we were supposed to be playing around then, the day before, against Manchester City. We already know that there's a real pile-up of fixtures because of the World Cup. So the World Cup, as we know, being played in November. Because of that, they're cramming in loads of games before the World Cup. And then the unexpected news came of the Queen passing away. They cancelled last week's game that has to be replayed. They've cancelled this game. Thankfully, they didn't cancel the game against Brentford.
Yeah,
we've got that game. But
that would have been peak.
Is this going to affect us, Turkish? I mean, we could potentially... I mean, I saw somebody writing, I think it's a bit inaccurate what they wrote, but they said the potential that Arsenal could play 44 games in 24 weeks, right, in the new year. And they were talking about the fact that if Arsenal were to reach, which this would be a great scenario, by the way, but they said if Arsenal were to reach the FA Cup final, Carabao Cup final, and Europa League final, they could face 44 games in a 24-week period.
That's mad.
Probably won't do that, but that's a hell of a lot of games.
Yeah, that's nearly 2 games a week for 24 weeks, basically, more or less. But you know what it is? When I looked at next month's fixtures, going into the season, I looked at the first 5. I said 5 wins, then the Man United game, and so on. But I looked at October and I said Tottenham, Liverpool, Man City. That's a lot of people's predictions for the top 3 this season. And playing them essentially back-to-back in the same month, I can't lie, I'm kind of happier that Man City's been taken out of that. I just think that game, in amongst the rest of the games, I just take one of them big ones out, and that's what's happened. So for me, I think...
Still going to have to play it, though.
We're still going to have to play it, but...
I remember last year when some of those games got taken out, and then we got all those games towards the end of last season, and then it all went wrong.
Listen, it being moved doesn't change that it's a difficult game. Probably the most difficult fixture of the calendar year in the Premier League. Manchester City, they're the best team in the league. They've won the league 4 out of 5 years. They were 2 on the bounce. So, in all honesty, it is the hardest game. But I'd rather play that game off the back of other fixtures than play that game off the back of Tottenham and Liverpool.
It could be off the back of some other difficult fixtures.
Well, then that's a problem we're going to have to face. But right now, I'm thinking, you know what? It's been taken out of October, and we've got Tottenham, Liverpool, and a couple other fixtures. I'm slightly happier now that it's been moved.
Well, let's look at this is October now. Remember when we played Brentford, we're only going to play a couple of games in September anyway because of the whole international break.
Yeah.
This is October's fixtures.
Yeah, let's go.
Right. First game back after the international break, Tottenham at home. Followed by Bodo Glimt at home in the Europa League.
Yeah.
On the 6th of October. 9th of October, Liverpool at home. 13th of October, Bodo Glimt away. 16th of October, 3 days later, Leeds away. 4 days after that, PSV Eindhoven at home.
And that's where Man City would have dropped.
That's where Man City would have dropped the day before that. 3 days after that, Southampton away. 4 days after that, PSV Eindhoven away. And then the last game of that month, Nottingham Forest at home. So I see what you're saying. It's taken out the City one, so
Taken out a big
it's
hit.
made it that sort of month from hell
Yeah.
a little bit kinder.
Because look, Man City would have come after Bodo Glimt away and Leeds away. Two away, Bodo Glimt, I don't know much about them, but they've, ruffled a few feathers over the years. So that's going to be a difficult game in itself. Leeds away will be a difficult game in itself. And then we would be welcoming Manchester City on Wednesday. I'll take PSV, thank you. That's how I'm looking at it. I'll take PSV.
Okay. I want to let people think about that because, I guess when you look on it that way.
I'm trying to take the positive. I'm trying to take the positive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take...
You know what, Man City being postponed's a bit like, you got to go dentist.
Yeah. Yeah, and they call you and say, your appointment's rescheduled, and you're like, yes.
You're like, yes. But then you remember that, boy, I still got to go.
And by then it could be worse. It's actually true.
So what do you guys think? Because you make a good point there. I wasn't really looking at it like that, but you are taking a real big hitter out of it. And also, when you look on it like that as well, with the Europa League, I mean, before we play PSV, which is the other best team in the group, even though they drew their first game against Bodo Glimt, we've got 3 points already. We'll play Bodo Glimt home and away. If we're doing our business, by rights, we should be taking 6 points. That would put us on 9 points before we face PSV. And then the first PSV one is at home.
Yeah.
Win that game, you're up on about 12 points, probably won the group.
Yeah, well, when's Zurich then?
Zurich will be...
The first week of November?
Zurich will be the first week, I think, in November.
So that's our last group game, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then...
At home.
We could essentially...
So that means that game, that PSV away, sandwiched in between Southampton and Forest, could probably rest a few players up.
Yeah, I think the pressure will be on them.
Yeah, because,
we should win all our games, but let's say we win 3.
We play Zurich on the 3rd of November, which is 3 days before we play Chelsea away. But then again, we could have it all
we should.
wrapped up and...
We should. It's not... we should have it.
And then even that, having to play that just before playing Chelsea, not the hardest game, is it, at home?
Put the under-23s out there. That's not being...
So it's taking a mick a bit.
Nah, it's not me being disrespectful.
We only beat them 2-1, remember that?
Yeah, we did.
But we did have a much changed team. I mean, taking City out of it, that's helped us.
Yeah, at this moment in time, yeah. We don't play City until the new year now.
Yeah.
So, like I said, come January, I want to be comfortably in top 4. We don't need to play City up until January. So, I think the chips worked in our favour this time round.
And as it worked in our favour again as well this weekend, the fact that Man United won't be playing, Chelsea won't be playing. I mean, I know they're not, but at some stage those teams are going to be rivaling us. They're not playing. Does that help? The fact that we've got a game so we could go a few points more ahead of them in the battle for the top 4 sort of thing?
For fans, yeah, I think, Man United fans, Chelsea fans, they want to see their team playing. But honestly, I look at Chelsea and Man United as teams just starting out their process. And I think this is probably, for Potter especially, to have 3-4 weeks before his, first game and Ten Hag, to have 3-4 more weeks to work with what he has, it could bode better for them going further into the season. Because they're right at the beginning of their process. Look how we started the season. We started the season the way we started because we're the 3rd year in our process. We had a good transfer window and we was hopeful going in. Whereas Chelsea and United, there was a lot of question marks and doubts over it. So I think this break is probably a welcome break for Potter and Ten Hag. I think they can utilise it to their advantage, but then having such a break can also stop momentum that Man United have seemed to pick up recently. I know they lost to Sociedad, but ever since their first 2 L's, they've beaten us and Liverpool. So that momentum they've gained, that kind of grinds to a halt.
Dave Jordan says October's looking easy now. He says only Liverpool to worry about. Listen, man, it's not looking it. We got Tottenham to play in the first game when we're back. What have you made of them this season? I mean, I was watching their game last night.
Terrible.
Awful. They've been doing that all season and getting away with it. I think last night was the first time they got their comeuppance because basically it's just defend, and catch teams on the counter attack. And they got the talent up front in Kane, Kulusevski, Son and Richarlison to do that. Last night it didn't work. They got caught out. They nearly got caught out last week by Marseille as well. Yeah. It's only when Marseille went down to 10 men. When you look at Spurs, you think to yourself, are you worried? Are you not worried about them now coming to the Emirates?
I'm worried. I'm excited because the North London derby, especially at the Emirates for us, is always a good one. But it worries me that they're still, undefeated and they haven't really kicked into gear yet. That's what worries me. In the league, yeah. Champions League, they've been even in the league, they've had poor performances. They just managed to get over the line. Look, they got a draw away to Chelsea after being played off the park for the majority of the game. That's something I also want for Arsenal. These tough away fixtures against the big six. If you don't play well, take something from the game. So as much as they've been poor performance-wise, they're still picking up results. Now, one thing about Conte is at Chelsea, when he was appointed as manager, I don't know if you remember, but it was our game that was the turnaround and the catalyst for Conte and Chelsea to win the title. I think we smoked them, and then after that he went to a back five, and then from there the rest was history. So Conte is a manager that he's not stubborn in his ways. That was then. So if these performances catch up to Tottenham like it did against, who did they play? Sporting Lisbon. Yeah. If it catches up to them in the league, Conte has the nous to switch it up and make a change that can fix it for them. But at the same time, they haven't really started off the season how I would have expected them to.
Negative, boring, man.
They are
boring. I tell you, I was all the games that I've watched this season, it's like dead football, man. But they're always a threat because they got them 3-4 players up front. And I think, listen, when they come to the Emirates on the 1st of October, that will be the worries, that they're just going to sit in and try and catch us on the counter-attack. If we're going to have to take our chances, and we're going to have to guard against the counter-attack at the back, because they are good at that. But I was just watching them last night and I'm like, dead, man. All season, dead football, man. It's dead.
I agree with you. But you know what? The Premier League has started in a very interesting way this season. It's probably the best start for a neutral to a Premier League season for a long time, because all right, Man City, they've dropped points in a couple of games but they're undefeated. Other than that, Tottenham are undefeated but they don't look good. Arsenal picked up 5 wins of the bounce. They go to a big six team, they lose. Man United lose to, they face Liverpool, they win. They beat Arsenal. So far this season, it's been a mad start to the season. But just with Tottenham, they're picking up points, and that's what matters at the end of the day. Gunnar Vettel says Tottenham are awful to watch, but they grind points. Good to see them lose yesterday. Charlie says, boring Spurs, such dull football. Manrick says the Kudos goal was a class goal against Liverpool. Oh, yeah. He looks a good player.
Peter Uche says, this is a blessing in disguise. Playing a Man City, we should have our business done in the window. That's another shot.
Yeah, January.
Gives us a chance in the January transfer window.
They'll have to reschedule Everton first.
Yeah.
So that will come first, and then City. So we probably won't face City until February onwards.
Jeez. And then face them again soon after.
Well, hopefully we're comfortably in top 4 by that time.
Yeah. And Gunner Down Under says, all eyes on us. Just like round 1, the opening game in the last season. Hopefully the jitters are put to bed on that night. We need to put pressure on the teams that aren't playing this round.
Yeah.
So all eyes on us. I think he's saying for Sunday's game. But we had that the first game in the season.
True.
The Palace game. All eyes are on us in that game.
And even with the postponements, we're not actually the only one that's got a big game postponed. Chelsea, Liverpool postponed. Man City, Tottenham postponed. So a few of the big six sides have big fixtures to come that's going to be rescheduled. So
yeah.
We're not the only ones.
Good performances, predict results. Spurs and United 5th and 6th. I hope you're right. Anthony O 1993 says, what do you think about Bowley trying to change the league? The arrogance after 2 months. Who knows nothing about the sport? Does this ruin Chelsea? We're going to speak about that later on, right? Because we got some views on that. So we're going to speak about that later on. But yeah, it was very controversial what he's come out with. You may be surprised by one of us and our views on it, right? So look out for that later on. Just moving on slightly as well from the fixture pile-up. What did you make of Arsene Wenger? Did you see his comments? he was asked about the whole, you were just talking about the whole title race at the moment. He reckons that Arsenal have got a good chance of winning the league this season.
Listen, Wenger's a legend, and
before you say anything, remember the last time he come out and said that, and everybody laughed. Remember?
Yeah. Well, unbeaten. Yeah, I remember that, and he done it the year after. But listen, crazier things have happened in football. Leicester winning the league, for example, it's just few and far between. At the end of the day, now where we are, it's easy for Wenger to say we can, because Tottenham can from here. Liverpool can, Chelsea can, Man United can. But will we is and I just think that, listen, Wenger supports Arsenal. He's an Arsenal man, and that's what he wants. And he's someone that is all about positivity. He's not someone that ever kind of comes out and places doubt in terms of players or gets onto their back or wants to ruffle feathers. He's always on positivity. He's always looking forward, and I just take it with a pinch of salt. He said we can win the league at this moment in time. Mathematically, a lot of teams can win the league, but I think it's a bit premature.
What he's saying is it's wide open at the moment. If you look at the games that have gone so far, if you look at the performances of all the teams, you just spoke about it yourself and said about the differences in the different teams that are sort of going for the top four. There's not a lot in it, is there?
There isn't.
Let's just break it down. All right, if I'm breaking it down, I look at it like this, right? At the moment, for me, City, even though they're below us, they look clear.
Yeah,
they got Haaland is on fire. De Bruyne, we know what they got. They're just such a brilliant team, managed by a brilliant manager who they've done it all before. They're winners, winning mentality, right? So for me, I put City and I say, right, you're clear, but things can happen. Haaland could get injured, De Bruyne, but things can happen. But if everything stays constant, clear. For me, City, clear.
Yeah, gone.
However, when I look at everybody else now, I look at Liverpool. They're not the same Liverpool that we've been seeing over the last few years. Even, I watched the game last night against Ajax. Much better performance by Liverpool. I think they deserve to win the game, but they had problems in that game.
Yeah.
The Ajax missed a couple of chances where they could have went 2-1 up. Teams going to Anfield and having him under pressure is not something that we've been used to seeing.
Exactly.
Players in their team that are normally outstanding have dropped a bit. Van Dijk is not looking the same Van Dijk that we're used to. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Exposed.
Certain players in that team that are normally so reliable are having a little bit of a dip. Now, how long that will last, I don't know. But certainly, Liverpool coming to the Emirates without in any way disrespecting them, because they are Liverpool, they're a quality team, but I could see it wouldn't have shocked me if they came to the Emirates and Arsenal beat them.
No, not this season, no.
Right? So they're a team that you could see losing a few games this season. Chelsea, sack their manager, Tuchel's gone, Graham Potter's come in, we all rate Graham Potter. We always think, I think he deserves his chance at that level. But he's never done it at that level before. How's he going to deal with his first crisis? Remember when he was at Brighton last year and he had a little bit of crisis? He had to go at the fans. Oh, you guys, you should be grateful that we're even winning a few games.
I remember that.
You can't say that out Chelsea. Man running out the club. Man go, what? What do you mean?
You can't.
We're supposed to win every week, right? He's got to negotiate the Champions League.
True.
He's never managed in the Champions League in his life. I heard him saying that he's never even been to a Champions League game before.
Mad.
Right?
And he's got stars now to manage.
He's got stars upon stars. If he goes and says to Cucurella, you're starting, Chilwell might knock on his door and say, yeah, we doing, man? Just what? Because he used to be with you at Brighton, now you're putting him over me. What about me?
Yeah.
Sterling, but so that's a whole new scenario for him. They haven't got off to a great start of the season. He's got to hit the ground running. It's a process, so we don't know. Chelsea, they could drop. They might not be the force they usually are. Tottenham, we just described, grinding it out at the moment. Not really exciting football, a bit boring. Got beat last night by
Sporting.
an okay Sporting Lisbon team.
Yeah.
Have just shaded a few games. They've had a few games this season where it could have went either way. They've been bailed out by the three up front. Could they drop, would they, Man United process, new managers in, still finding his feet, new signings. And then Arsenal. We got a chance, man. When you look on it in that way, if we can hold a bit of consistency, I look at Arsenal, and I don't agree with Wenger. I don't think we can win the league this year. I know crazier things that happen. But what I do look at Arsenal, I say to myself, especially at home this season, if we win, if we make it a fortress at home and we really deal with a lot of our home games, and then deal with the games most of the games we're expected to win away from home, we get top four.
Yeah, we should. Look, when I look at this season, Rob, and I look at Chelsea sacking Tuchel, bringing in Potter, and I look at United and what they've gone through in the summer, in terms of not just summer, last season, Ragnick and that. On paper, we should be finishing ahead of Chelsea and Man United. We should. This is the third year of our process. This is the first year of theirs. So with Chelsea and Man United, we should finish ahead of them. Tottenham, they're in their first full season of a new process under Conte. The only difference for me is Conte is a top manager. He's proven it in the past. That's why. And
he's got players that, they've been a mainstay of that team.
Yeah, solid.
Like Harry Kane, Son, Højbjerg,
Lloris.
Yeah. These guys have been mainstays of that team. So it's not like it's a new process, couple of new players. But you even notice in a lot of Tottenham games, up until recently, none of the new players even played.
Yeah.
Like Basuma and all those guys, he's been sticking with what he knows. So,
and that's worrying as well, because if Basuma came to Arsenal, would be expecting him to start. And Tottenham are buying 60 million with Richarlison, 25 Basuma, and they're coming off the bench. So for me, the third and fourth should be Spurs and Arsenal in some way, shape, or form. We should be.
So who do you think the second?
I still give it to Liverpool, but I'm with you.
They're a little bit shaky this year, man.
They are.
There's an opportunity there. With Liverpool looking how shaky they are.
Massive opportunity. But you look at some of the quality they possess, and if the switch flicks, then for them, I think second will be wrapped up.
Yeah.
But I just feel like
it's going to be an interesting season, man. There's no, I see where Wenger's coming from, although I do think City are clear. But the rest of the teams,
dodgy. Yeah, second down is anyone's guess.
Yeah.
I think Man City are clear, like you said, but I think from second down, I'm putting Liverpool there by default because it's just what I've been used to over the years. But I'm with you. I think they could really free fall this year. And by free fall, it could be third, fourth. But if they don't fix it quickly, fifth, sixth, second to sixth could be a surprise come the end of the season.
Chatiana says, how are we playing 3 top 4 teams at home already in October? How come we started the season back-to-back away games? They're up to something.
Did we start the season back? No, we didn't start the season back-to-back away games. Brentford away, Leicester home, then Bournemouth away. But yeah, the 3 in October was mad. And the 3 at home in October, the first thing I said to myself is, if we're playing those 3 at home in the first half of the season, we're playing those 3 away in the second half. And the pressure,
the
dentist again. And it's a root canal when it comes to April, May.
With a very bad dentist normally. Dr. Viraj, and we're not talking you, right? Big up Dr. Viraj. He says, hi Robbie and Turkish. I hope you're doing good. Must admit, if we beat them mugs down the road and Liverpool, we'll be looked upon a scary proposition for the top 4. But he's a bit worried about the squad depth. That's a true point as well, isn't it? If we can beat both of them at home, that's what I'm saying. The home games are critical.
Yeah. I think Tottenham. I say it because I'm used to it, but we should be able to see off Tottenham. You look at the way they started the season, you look at the way we have, it's our home game. I think we should be able to get the jump. Liverpool is a big one for me because Liverpool and Man City, we're playing them 4 times this season. Win at least one of those games, Arsenal. And I don't mean win 1 and lose 3. Win 1, draw 1, and then whatever with the 2 away ones, because I still don't think we're ready to really go take points away from Liverpool and City. I just don't see it happening. Until it happens, then I just can't see it happening. So
I think we could take points to Liverpool at home.
What, at Anfield?
No.
Home, home, at home, yeah.
Anfield. But look at, as I said, I was watching them play Ajax yesterday. Normally, this is what Liverpool pride themselves on the, European games under the lights. they had some ropey moments in that game. Now I know they still won, last minute winner. It's something not quite there at the moment, but they can find that. You know what I mean? They are quality side. We can't.
Yeah, and Thiago has just come back in for them, so.
Yeah, and they're getting some of the injured players back.
Yeah.
GB says, turn 6 of the 13 losses we had last season into draws, and we sit on 75 points. Arteta needs to start taking valuable points and stop losing games we don't have to, and that is a thing, you know. We didn't lose last season. If you look at it, we either lost or won. Mm-hmm. We didn't draw a lot of games, did we?
We didn't. No,
it's crazy.
And like you said, if you remain tight in a few of those games and take a point away, I mean, forget 6, we was 2 points off top 4 at the end of last season, and I think we was about 4 points off top 4 end of the season before. So turn around some of the losses to draws, it can really count at the end of the season.
Dave Jordan says top 4 not even in doubt between us and Liverpool for second. Jesus. Calm, Dave, calm. Anthony 1993 says the Arsenal squad season by signing Jesus reminds me of when we signed Eduardo. Touch of wood, it won't end in that tragedy. Oh, please not. This guy there, Mr. Nezubio, he says, stop being deluded, Robbie. If Liverpool get their players back, it's back again to challenging City. I don't think so this season.
No, they're not challenging City this season. I just don't see it.
I don't think so. I don't think I'm being...
Mane is a huge loss, but on top of that, Van Dijk and Salah don't seem the player they was. And I don't mean last season, because Salah's kind of dropped off since January. And Van Dijk, he was a top defender last season, but there was moments with Van Dijk that you never saw before. So this has been coming with Van Dijk as well. So, okay, Mane is a big loss. They've replaced with Núñez, whatever. But there's doubts about 2 of their big players at the moment, Salah and Van Dijk. So that won't change around with 1 or 2 wins, because teams are more confident going to Anfield playing Liverpool now.
Rizwan says second place is there for the taking. Liverpool's suffering from injury and Klopp's unlucky 7th season. Spurs will crack as they always do. Let's be brave. Gonna have to be brave, and I guess what Conte's brought to Spurs is a different mentality. Although he weren't on show last night.
Yeah, no.
But honestly, it's going to be a really, really interesting season, and maybe Wenger might have a point. I can't see us
very early. But then look, you said it before. He was laughed at for saying something outrageous 20 years ago. Yeah. And in the end, a year later, it came true. So, as an Arsenal fan, I hope it's the same scenario here. People laugh at him now, and then come the end of the season, everyone's like, oh, remember what Wenger said?
Benjamin Jarvis, quite controversial question here, says, do you think Arteta should be sacked if he doesn't get in the top 4?
Yes.
Yes.
You agree, yeah? Oh, I thought you were saying yes.
No, I'm saying you said yes.
Yeah, I just think, listen, come on, 3rd season now, 3rd full season, and this ain't me getting on his back, because, listen, he's turned it around a lot in the past year, 18 months. It's just top 4 needs to happen now. I can't have another summer where these owners have excuses again not to really go and fill all the gaps, because that's what just happened this summer. You can look at this summer and say it's a positive because we was proactive, we brought real quality in. Saliba, Zinchenko and Jesus really helped the first 11. That's all facts. But at the same time, we've left ourselves exposed in some positions, lack of depth. That's been the case before. But if we get Champions League football, then that should be the catalyst to really start building on moving like a big club. And I say building on because we've been out of the Champions League for a while now, but the last 2 years we've spent considerable amount, over 100 million, cool. But as you see Todd Bowley come into Chelsea, because they have Champions League, because they've been well run over the years, he goes and splashes out nearly 300 mil. So what does our 100 mil look like in comparison to their 300 mil? That's what an owner with Champions League football and ambition does. So this season, get Champions League football, Mikel, and then it's over to you, Stan, again.
Yeah, I was about to say it depends how he misses out on the top 4, but we missed out on the top 4 by a point last season.
Yeah, we've had that already.
So
the only other how is 10 points off, and
I think it could be a yes from me as well. We got to get into that top 4. We got to do something this season, man. We got to get back. Every time I'm over the last few nights, when I keep hearing that Champions League music, man. I feel like throwing something, picking up something and throwing it. So, you know what I mean? Honestly, I've got James seen Tottenham in the Champions League,
and I've got James singing the Europa League anthem on Forever Arsenal, and it's just like, fucking hell.
I don't even want to hear that music.
I don't want to hear it.
You know, it was interesting there. You're putting it on the owners.
Always.
You can't this year.
I think I can.
No. With the summer just gone, you can't put it on the owners. They did a lot for Arteta in that transfer window. You made the point yourself. Remember, he was able to get some of these players without no Champions League.
Yeah.
What? It was not down to the owners this time.
No, what it is, Rob, is, listen, like I said, we've started moving like a big club in the last couple of years in terms of the market, spending a decent amount of money. Without Champions League, we can't attract the Gnabry's. I wanted Gnabry this summer, but it was a joke because without Champions League...
you see the goal he scored last night?
Sane was someone that a lot of Arsenal fans would have loved, and there's many players out there that Champions League football will help you attract them. With the Kroenkes, for me, they fucked up with Wenger, left him on too long. They fucked up with Unai Emery. Now they went all in on Mikel and Edu. They went all in. They've batted back all the criticism from fans, the division. They've stuck by him, and all or nothing.
So it's not their fault, yeah.
That's the right thing to do. But if it doesn't work, the right thing was to stick by Wenger, but it didn't work in the end, and they stuck by him too long, and that's what caused our decline into Europa League and then out of Europa League.
I know all that.
There has to be a cut-off point for them to. A good owner knows when to. Like, there's a target there. If you're not achieving that target, then as much as you've done good work in the past, maybe another manager comes in and picks up the good work you've done and kicks us onto.
No, but what I'm saying is, if we don't get top 4 this season, not their fault.
For me, it's always their fault.
Why?
Because
why would it be their? Listen, over the years, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But this year, they've given him a lot. Last year and this year, you just said it. They've given him a lot, yeah. But then, so if he don't get top 4 this season, how's it their fault?
Man United's owner's giving them 200 mil more than us. Chelsea's owner's giving them 300 mil more than us. Tottenham's owner giving them a world-class manager that's won the Premier League before. So all I'm saying is, it's competition. Even though we've spent 100 mil and Arteta was back,
it's more than 100 mil.
115 this summer.
Yeah.
He was back.
That's 15 million more than 100.
But it's 150, it's 160 less than Chelsea, and it's 120 less than United.
Come on, man. You know them clubs, they just go, they're maniacs when it comes to the transfer window. You know what I mean? So I don't even think you can look on it like that. And they needed more, didn't they? I think in the case of Man United, they just went mad. And Chelsea, they're just trying to prove a point.
Yeah, it might not work.
They're trying to prove a point. They're trying to, Bowley's come in, he's trying to prove a point. Now, you think Abramovich spent? Watch this. Mm-hmm. The Glazers under pressure, they're just trying to prove a point. Now, I mean, some of the signings they made, they were after De Jong all season, couldn't get him, went crazy with Casemiro, mad contract. With what we've done, I think they've given him the tools this year to try and get into the top 4.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Rob. I think they've done.
So how's it their fault then if we didn't make it? That's all I'm asking.
Because the position we're in now,
this year, not other years, but this year, how would it be their fault?
Because you can't take away other years. I know you're saying just this year, but the reason we're talking about this now is because of previous years and the way they've been.
Yeah, but no, you're saying they've rectified that.
Not rectified.
For the top 4, they've rectified that and said, right, here, last year and this year, there's the tools, now go and get me that. How would it be their fault? It's not them picking the team, they're not managing things.
Well,
wouldn't it be his fault?
Should I tell you what I turn around and say? Who told you to go for a manager that was never a manager? Who told them to do that? And that's not me saying I'm not behind it at the moment. Like I said...
Don't sound like it.
No, Mikel, I like what he's doing. I like the way he's turned it around, and I'm going into the season positive. I'm actually still positive about it. I think we can make top 4, and I've actually predicted we will make top 4. But at the end of the day, if we don't, then it will come down to, all right, maybe not money, but it'll come down to, okay, how come you chose to give the money to an inexperienced manager?
Okay.
So there's still an argument there to,
I think you come out of this one, didn't it?
Kroenkes they can't get away from me, I'm telling you.
Rizwan says, second place is there for the taking. Liverpool's suffering from injury. Klopp's unlucky 7th season. My inner Turkish, I love that guy. My inner Turkish, he says, I see us in the top 2 if we're prepared well for January and bring quality into the midfield of the park as early as possible to fill the gaps. Dave Jordan says, as an Arteta fan, he has to go if he don't get into the top 4 unless there's a major injury crisis. He also thinks Europe, we can win the Europa League, get 80 points this season and push on for next year. Samuel says, imagine going into the January window without any reinforcements in midfield. Robbie will have another meltdown. We need to do that. And Anthony again says, what was Bowley's £300 million pound players change for Chelsea? What has Bowley's £300 million worth of players changed for Chelsea?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Shref says, Robbie, what's missing is the big game management and courage and ruthlessness. We should have beaten United, but felt they lost due to a lapse of concentration, no more. Jonathan James says, why are we still throwing shade on Arteta? Ari experience. We were 11th in the Premier League when he took over with an awful squad, and look where we are now.
I'm not throwing shade on Arteta. All I said was, if it doesn't work, then I'm going to ask the owners, or not, I can't physically ask the owners, but I'm going to question as to why they decided to go down this route. That's all. I'm not throwing shade on Arteta. Like I said, the position we're in at this moment in time, the transfer window we've just had, I'm actually positive about this season. I think we can achieve Champions League this season, and this is the first time I'm saying this for a good few years. It's no shade on Arteta. It's just the owner. The buck stops at the owners each and every time. The buck stops at the owners, so I can always direct it back to them.
Yep. Shiv says Arteta should be sacked if no top four. Zeldris agrees with you, says 100%. What is Robbie on about? Nope, he shouldn't be sacked, says Atmosphere.
If he shouldn't be, okay, this is my point here, yeah? This is our...
No, I agree. By the way, I agree with you.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't get top four, I think he's got the tools this year.
I mean, listen, a lot of the fans got behind the process early. A lot of more fans have jumped on this process now. Forget the word process for me, but my thing is, yeah, if we don't finish top four this year, then teams that are going through a fresher process than us would have finished above us. That doesn't make sense to me. If this process is going in the right direction, we finished top four this season. Maybe we had the Cup 2 and we're back in Champions League in the 23-24. If we don't make it, that means Tottenham, who have just changed their manager, nearly a year ago, would have finished above us. Or Man United, who just changed their manager 3 times in a year, would have finished above us. Or Chelsea, who changed their manager this season, finish above us. That's not acceptable for me.
Okay. Young Gunner says the reason I will not get off, I will not let the Cronkies off the hook is the years of neglect and poor decision making and accepting years of mediocrity. Most transfer windows have been smoke screens and a lack of activity. It's your brother there.
That's my inner Turkish, I think.
Yeah, listen, I think this is the year.
It has to be.
This is the year.
You know, and look how far we've fallen.
Chris Fraser says standards, people, standards.
And that's what I mean. You just said this is the year, Rob. Yeah. Back in the day, it
has to be the year.
We used to talk and say this is the year, talking about winning the league. Yeah, now we're saying this is the year, making top four. It's like,
you know, I was thinking the other day as well, Turkish, is like, if we did get top four this season, say we'd have made top four last season, what players would we have been able to have got?
Gnabry. I really think we could have got him. I really think we had Champions League, we could have got that.
Yeah, because, you know, in watching the Champions League, right, I think we really underestimate how important that is for certain players. I saw that player, you know, the player who was playing for Ajax the other day.
What, midfielder?
No, they got this big guy at the back. I think, is it Bassi?
Yeah.
Bassi, who used to play for Rangers, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he came through Leicester's academy. He's English.
Oh, okay.
And he's now at Ajax. And I think they had a game the other day when he was playing in the Champions League, his first ever Champions League game. And when they were going down the line and the music was playing, he was crying.
It's mad.
He was crying to say, my God, I'm actually on the biggest stage that I'm probably ever going to get on in playing in the Champions League. There's top players. We saw it with Ronaldo this season.
Yeah.
Where he's basically saying to Man United, oh man, I ain't in this Europa League thing, man.
Yeah.
I need to go. I need to leave. There's players, the top level players are not coming to play Europa League, are they? So even the fact that we managed to get in Jesus and Zinchenko, persuade them to come. But I was just thinking to myself, who else could we have persuaded to come if we had Champions League football? And we would have had a bigger budget as well, because we know you're getting a guaranteed 50 million off of that as well.
Yeah. I mean, Milinkovic-Savic probably would have been a midfielder we could have got if we had the money from Champions League. Gnabry, Sané, if those rumours were true that, you know, maybe he was up for a move. But Who knows? Because we're not in that market, we don't really entertain.
Got to get back in that market,
yeah.
innit? We've got to get. I agree with you on that. Jason says if we get Tuchel, this squad goes to the top 4. He's going to be hovering around all season. Tuchel, you know, anybody who's not performing, he's going to be hovering around.
I don't rate him like people rate him, to be honest.
Yeah. Mobile Gaming says the Don has been cronkied. Don Cronky. Listen, man, you gotta be real, right? You can't just say hate Cronky, hate Cronky, hate Cronky. If wanting them to do some things that are right, and when they do some right things, which I saw in the summer, then I'm like, all right, fair enough. Like our guy said previously, we can't forget the previous years, but this year in particular, if it goes wrong, it's not. They've given the resources to the manager.
I just want the fan base to start holding them more accountable, and I don't mean now.
They're accountable, but to me, you're accountable. But I think the only thing you could say if it doesn't work out this season would be what you were saying earlier. That, well, hold on, you employed this guy, so you've got to take account for the fact that you employed a guy. You put a lot of trust in him, and it's failed. So you've got to take responsibility for some of that failure, but certainly they've given him the tools. You know, I think, listen, he hasn't got all the tools. He needs a defensive mid, but they were even going to give him that. It was even just that he fell through at the last minute. They've backed him.
But I still think they could have done more. It still comes.
Well, you can always do more, but they have backed him.
Because in January, like when Arteta said, you know, you need to maximise every window, and we didn't get no one. That for me stank of they didn't back you. And then this summer, coming to the last few weeks, Edu and Arteta both came out multiple times and said we're still in the market. There's still some things to do. In the end, we did nothing. So I wondered to myself.
But he tried, didn't it?
Yeah, but again, trying to me, it's like, what do you mean try? I mean,
he tried.
Yeah, but we need
just like Man United all season. We're trying to get De Jong. He didn't want to come.
But then they had at least 2 backups. All right, Rabiot was a joke, but then they got Casemiro. They still got some. Us, it's like we have a target. Maybe it was Tielemans. That doesn't happen. Luis on the last day of the window out of nowhere, and then we tried.
It's not the owner though. It's not. That's not the owner's fault. That's Arteta and Edu, because they've decided that, you know what, because we can't get exactly who we want, we'll wait till January.
I think it just comes down to the money.
That's their decision. That's their decision. So they've probably gone to the owner and say, yeah, keep that money until January. We'll go back and try and get who we want. We reckon we can get by for now. You never know.
Potentially, because
the owners could be sitting there going, you sure?
Yeah, because
you sure? Because the money's here, you know. You sure you don't want to get no one else? No, man, we don't. Just keep that, man. Hold that until January. So you can't then blame the owners.
Well, then January will
They
come.
definitely tried to get Luis. They definitely made a bid of 25 million, which was rejected, right? Luis stay, which, by the way, is starting to look dumb by Aston Villa. I said, unless he signs a new contract with Villa, that's the stupidest, because by the time, you know, we're what, one more game in September, then we're in October, then the month of October, then literally the next time Arsenal and Villa and all that are playing again is on Boxing Day, which is just before the January transfer window, when you could have got 25 million. But listen, it's going to be down to the owners, I think. It's going to be down to Arteta.
Listen, there's an argument that it comes down to Arteta, there's an argument it comes to Edu, and there's a strong argument it always comes down to Kroenke. At the end of the day, people are going to blame who they're going to blame anytime something goes wrong. But for me, it's just that we always tend to blame the manager first. And I'm not saying he should be absolved of any wrongdoing in the process if it doesn't work, but when are we going to stop going after managers every time and realise that these owners haven't really helped out as much as we would have hoped or liked? Like I said, in the last 2 years, look, we spent 150 million last summer, we was happy about it. We spent 115 this summer, we was happy about it. All of a sudden, Chelsea have a new owner and he spends 300 mil. And money is not the be-all and end-all, but money helps you get to the majors. And if we're happy with 150, 115, then imagine Chelsea with 250, 300 mil. And in his first window ever as a Chelsea owner, that worries me, because I think that we.
But you don't spend that next year, though.
Who knows?
But you don't spend 300 million next year.
Not 300, but I expect another 200 from him.
This is the first window. So
I expect another 200 from him, 150, 200 then after you spend 300. Chelsea spent 222 2 years before that one.
How much did Liverpool spend?
This summer. 80 on Nunes and maybe 6 on Carvalho or something.
So, you know what I mean? It's not just, you know.
But then look at them now.
True.
So, and they've got American owners. They just hit the jackpot with Klopp and that Coutinho money. That's what happened with Liverpool. Same type of owners as us.
We ain't had no jackpot to hit because our players were just giving them away.
Yep.
Gunners JX says the Marseille French team is low-key mix of Arsenal, Kolasinac, Alexis, Guendouzi. They lost yesterday, didn't they? Got beaten by Frankfurt.
Yeah,
jeez.
at home as well.
Big up Primsy. Primsy TV says 100% sack Arteta if we don't get top 4 and win a trophy. Big up the boys. 18 years of pain. Don't forget, people. We've got to get Primsy on, man, on one of his lives.
100%.
Primsy, we need you here, man. Rizwan says the process is not about just getting into the top 4 or even winning the league. It's to build back the Arsenal brand. Young team, young manager, good story, gets people behind without ever overspending.
So wool over our eyes, is that what you're saying?
My inner Turkish says we could have gone for Nunes or Isaac for 60 plus million. After you saw how they play, regardless of their GA stats, do you think we spend money wisely? Well, we did get Jesus. You know, Jesus has started off better than Nunes. VJ says Stan did a good job this season. I agree. But I have a feeling that this will be followed by empty, bad windows, and he'll ride off this season for another 4 years. Well, I hope not. Fam Jam says, stop the negativity, Turkish. You will be the reason people will stop watching AFTV. You don't analyse, you moan. We don't come to watch your negativity.
Thank you for the super chat.
Right, I'm going to move it on, man, before, right? This Turkish bashing.
I'll bash
Mind you, I was getting cussed more than you, to be fair.
I'll bash these type of fans because where was I negative today? I want us to finish in the Champions League position. How can that be negative?
Yeah, Name says Turkish is right. Ornstein said Arsenal didn't sign Neto due to the high fee.
Yeah, I just think that we was held back in January, and I think we was held back at the end of this window as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, Arteta coming out and saying these owners are up there with the very best. It doesn't help him, and he's in the firing line for that. That's what happened with Wenger over the years. He put himself in the firing line. Arteta seems to be doing the same, but at the same time, it looks like things are going well. If it turns around and it doesn't go well, then you are the man that said the owners. I'm on to the owners. The man that's in charge of Arsenal in terms of management, he's saying the owners are the best, well, one of the best that he's seen. So I can't help him if that's what he's saying. At the end of the day, I just think that...
And Antonio 1993 says Josh Kroenke deserves credit, who is trying to be involved with the club, Arteta, Edu and the players. I wanted to touch on, we was talking a little bit about Todd Bowie at Chelsea, and the suggestion that he came out with that he'd like to see a North versus South game, sort of similar to what they do in America when they do the All-Star game, and people have been slating him, saying this is a terrible, terrible idea. I actually think it's not a bad idea. I don't know what you think. I know I will explain in a minute before you come at me. But Turkish, what do you think of that idea?
I actually agree with you for once.
Hey.
Yes, I actually agree. I can't lie. I think I used to say it back in the day. I used to watch basketball growing up, and growing up is when Arsenal were at their heyday and Arsenal United, and I used to think to myself, All-Star weekends is not just about an All-Star game. It's about little like 3-point shootout or skills challenges. Imagine football had a weekend where the best in the North play the best in the South, as well as that you have like a speed test with the 6 fastest players. You have a crossbar challenge. You have a top corner challenge. That is money revenue generated for the league. It's entertainment for us. I'd rather watch that than international football.
True. Or to me, I was thinking you could scrap the Community Shield, right? Which isn't always packed. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at it. The last one they had, Liverpool end packed, City. They never packed out their end. I remember even when we played who did we play in the Community Shield? Was that City as well? They never packed out their end.
City, because Chelsea was a sellout, but City, yeah.
Yeah. I'd replace the Community Shield with a North versus South All-Star game. Now, I'm like you. I've been in America and I've been to an All-Star game, and it's brilliant. And not only that, I've been out there when they hand out, so anybody from America, I don't know if they still hand it out in paper form, probably does it all online now, but like you'd be going to games and they hand out like these ballots at games where it's like you can choose who you think should be in the All-Star
Vote, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fans vote for it. The fans vote for who should be in the All-Star game. And I'm like, that's not a bad idea, man. You could have the North versus the South, and that could be the curtain opener for the season, you know, and that could replace the Community Shield. A lot of players would feel very honoured to play in it if they won the votes and that and they played in it. We'd have loads of controversy picking our teams and all that. And I think it would generate a lot of money. And if you did it instead of the Community Shield, that money goes to charity. And like you said, you could add in some of those things, like you said, a crossbar challenge or a penalty shootout, or...
Imagine Haaland, Jesus, Ronaldo and 3 other strikers going for a crossbar challenge.
You know, I'd watch that. Listen, let me give you a little... I was working with the guys earlier, right? And we were trying to come up with a little team, right? Tell me...
cool.
You may not agree with a lot. Well, I know you won't.
What's it, South?
We never agree, right? This was trying to be totally unbiased, right?
Cool.
North versus South team, starting off with the South. In goal, Aaron Ramsdale. What are you laughing over there? What are you laughing about? Tell me another keeper in the South that you put in front of Ramsdale.
Sanchez, maybe?
Sanchez? Nah, man.
No? I don't know. I think he'd be in with a shout. I think he'd be in with a shout. I think Fabianski would probably be in with a shout because West Ham over the last couple.
Fabianski instead of Ramsdale.
No, Ramsdale's. You're acting like Ramsdale's Buffon. Like, he's man of those.
No, Ramsdale. Anyway, Ramsdale, right back, Reece James.
Yeah.
My 2 centre backs, Saliba, and this is a controversial one. Joachim Anderson, Crystal Palace. Been playing really, really well. I mean, you could have your Thiago Silvas and you could have your Koulibalis and people like that. But you know why I put him in there? Because I'm trying to spread it to some of the other teams.
Yeah, for me, right? Saliba, Koulibaly, but yeah.
Yeah, so probably Koulibaly.
But then Saliba's obviously a personal favourite. He wouldn't make it. It'd be probably Koulibaly.
Joachim Anderson, left back, Cucurella.
Left back, Cucurella. I don't know about that. I don't even know.
You could put Zinchenko in there. You could put Tierney.
I think it's up for debate, that position.
Who else? Any other names you know?
Who's Crystal Palace's left back? Is it Mitchell? Nah, I guess not. West Ham's left back? Nah.
Told you, man. That's
it's a shout, but I'd still maybe say Zinchenko.
Defensive midfielder, Declan Rice.
Casemiro.
That guy holding.
That's North in it. South.
Declan Rice. You could have Kante there, I guess, as well. But I think Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Baller. Midfield of Odegaard and Ward-Prowse, Southampton.
Isn't there better midfielders in this?
I'm just trying to be objective here and give people a, you know, I know there'd be, you know. And then a front 3. And again, we were all trying not to be biased and just throw loads of Arsenal players in there. Sterling on the right. Kane down the middle, unfortunately. And Zaha on the left.
So who's that 3 again? Kane, Zaha and...
Sterling.
I don't know, you know.
There's other players you can pick, but I'm just saying, that would be, Look at the debate already.
Cool.
Look at the debate already. We have this debate about Community Shield. Right. And then going to the North. Oh. Alisson in goal.
Cool.
Right back, Trent Alexander-Arnold, even though he's been having a bit of a mare. He just scraping there this season, but
for all-star games you want someone that can bang in free kicks and stuff. So,
Diaz of Man City, and Virgil van Dijk, even though as well, but Virgil van Dijk,
agree.
Cancelo left back, holding midfielder Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne.
They shit on the South, don't they?
Kevin De Bruyne and Bruno Fernandes.
Oof, Bruno, but okay, cool.
And then a front 3 of Salah, Haaland down the middle, and listen, we could have went again with is it Diaz? But I wanted to mix it a bit. St. Maximin, Newcastle.
Well, all-star game. He's
that's
like
a good game, man. Now, tell me you wouldn't want to see that. Would you want to see that?
I think they're but North
rather than watching boring
smoke. The North will put this out.
The North are good, aren't they?
Oh my.
The North are good, man.
When you said Rodri in my head, I thought, and Casemiro back up.
Look at even, you go through the comments already, people are getting like, you know. You know, they're jumping in, man. Where's Bernardo Silva? Bernardo Silva over Bruno.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was trying to mix it up. Shiv said it sounded really interesting. Joe Linton says, and we did actually consider him. But Joe Linton.
St. Maximin's a very good shout because that's the type of people you need for All-Star games. Someone that's going to get you out your seat. It's not about efficiency and system in that game. It's about entertainment.
Yeah. Man said Zaha, says obviously Kieran laughing at me. Why not? Zaha's been brilliant this season. Why couldn't Zaha be in?
Left wing?
Yeah.
Who's ours? Martinelli. Who's Chelsea? Sterling. But then you put him the other side. Who's Tottenham's? Who's Tottenham's?
Son.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to go.
You could, but I'm just going. Zaha's on fire. He's, you know what I mean. He scores goals. You know, that's a good front three. You know, Zaha, Harry, what's his name, and you know,
yeah, it's big names. But then, I'd probably edge it to Son. Not edge it. I think if Son finds form, then Son's a
Varane over Diaz, says Jay. We did consider that. James says Bruno, laugh out loud. 5-1 to the North, says Chris Fraser. Managers, two black. We did speak about managers upstairs, but managers, who'd manager the South?
Manage the South. Patrick Vieira.
Ooh. North manager?
Pep.
Anyway, let's get some comments, more comments coming in about it. North versus South in the Premier League, the Super Bowly, says Jonathan James. I like that. Anthony O's 1993. Thanks for your super chats, Anthony. I really appreciate this, man. He says, if you want that stuff, watch Soccer AM. I think he's talking about the crossbar challenges and things like that. Wayne Sage, a member here, he says, Robbie, I disagree with the All-Star game idea. America doesn't have the type of rivalries they have in Europe. Arsenal and Spurs players teaming up. Well, they do team up when they play for their countries. And the other thing I was saying, right, is that, look, you have charity games going on. Yeah? The one they do with Robbie. Soccer Aid.
Yeah.
Look how well attended that is.
Yeah.
Look how people watch that on TV. Look what the amount of money that generates. Always sold out. Imagine us.
Do you remember Europe versus rest of the world? Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
I used to watch those games.
I think I wouldn't mind seeing that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Something like that.
Europe versus rest of the world. You know what I mean? With, again, you know, the European team would be good. As rest of the world, South American, African players.
Yeah.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, I think.
Do you know the thing is with football, right, is that sometimes you've got to embrace change. I remember, I don't know if you can remember this, Turkish. Do you remember when they brought in that rule where they said you're no longer to pass back the ball to the keeper, and man was up in arms. Oh, you're ruining the game. Who moans about that now? Great rule. Great rule that they brought back in. Makes the game flow better, everything.
Yeah, that rule came in before my time, but I remember reading about how controversial it was at the time.
Oh, man, people were losing it.
I just think, even on his comment about the rivalries, listen, in the 90s and 2000s, what I grew up on, you could never do this. You could never, ever do this. But now, football's gone so soft that you might as well give us something back for making it so soft. The rivalries are not as rife as they used to be.
But I look on that and I say, these guys play for their countries together anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Saka plays with Kane and all these guys for their country. And I mean, so we see them playing alongside these players anyway. It was not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus plays with Richarlison.
Yeah.
That's another example that's going to happen this year.
Manoj says, All-Star won't work in the Prem. Fans are more tribal. Imagine rooting for Kane as an Arsenal fan. Having an all-star with other leagues would make more sense. The Sick Gaming says Alejandro Rodriguez should be a good shout, Robbie. Tevin says, the South is getting dismantled. Laugh out loud. Definitely the North has got a strong team, man. Yasser Goes says, I would be really hyped for stuff like the Premier League All-Star 11 versus a La Liga All-Star 11. That's another good one.
Potentially, that's even better. Maybe an All-Star tournament where La Liga, Serie A, and Bundesliga and the Premier League, 4 teams, 2 semis, 1 final.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with sometimes thinking a bit out of the box. You know, it's fascinating actually that David Dean is doing a book launch tonight actually at the Tollington when you listen to him and John Smith, who we had on the show once, he's the agent. These guys were the guys behind the Premier League. And when you listen to those guys and they talk about when they first wanted to introduce new things into the Premier League, just a sort of the change of kits, having sort of pom-pom cheerleader type girls leading the players out, people were up in arms. This is terrible. What is this? This is going to ruin football, blah, blah, blah. Now the Premier League is the best league in the world.
There's a fine balance to it, because I remember reading a comment earlier about this subject, and someone said, who wants to be down 1-0 at half time and Beyonce comes out to start singing something? So there's a balance to it all. There's a balance, and I think that balance can be found.
But you know what it is, when I went to that All-Star game I went to, right? It's an occasion. You kind of...
You're not rooting for one or the other.
You just... You know what, as a matter of fact, you're not even rooting for necessarily the North or the South. You're just going for the occasion, a great game. They're going to raise loads of money for a great... I think he actually suggested that the money raised could go to the football pyramid.
That's what he said, yeah.
So that could go to help grassroots football. I honestly didn't think it was a bad idea. I saw people ripping him. I'm like, I think it's not a bad idea, especially if the money's going to them sort of causes. I think it's not a bad idea, but... Listen, I'll leave it to you guys to keep discussing. We've reached the end of the show right now. Turkish, big up, man.
Love, Rob.
Big up to you guys as well. Don't forget, we do have a game this weekend. We know because obviously the death of the Queen and the funeral on Monday, but the Arsenal game against Brentford is taking place. We've got previews coming. Turkish is going to be doing a box-to-box.
Yep.
Who you doing it?
Billy the Bee.
Billy the Bee. It can only be Billy the Bee, man. Besotted, right? So... Billy the Bee, big Brentford fan. They're going to be doing box to box. We're going to be previewing that game, our last game, of course, before we go into the international break. And then after that, it's back against Tottenham. But it would be massive if Arsenal could get a win in that game. Really, puts us in good stead for these tough games we've got coming up in October. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next one.
Love.